All right, so Antifa has struck again. This is from Andy No. He says a left-wing protester at an Antifa Denver rally shot and killed a conservative participant in the Patriot rally. This follows the August killing of a Trump supporter in Portland by an Antifa shooter. Now, again, all the details still haven't came out when it comes to this. So the first thing that I would mention is that if evidence comes out to contradict um, what I'm saying, then by all means, I was wrong. But going off the evidence we have right now, this was a Antifa killer, basically, in that this individual came to a rally and killed people. Now, this has happened multiple times. Antifa's now killed multiple people. There's been violent riots going on in multiple cities for going on 4 months now. I mean, the almost the entire time in Portland, but also some other cities on and off. So, and here's the big thing too. Like Joe Biden brought up at the last debate how Antifa is just an idea, right? Even though they clearly aren't, right? Like they have branded cells, they have literal like Rose City Antifa and Sacramento Antifa, and so on and so forth. So the idea that they're just an idea is stupid, right? Like then why do they have branded cells? And here's the other argument they bring up to debunk that idea. Well, they say, well, oh, can I call up the leader of Antifa? Well, no, you can't. But that doesn't prove anything because think about it from the other side's point of view. Let's just say that someone was going to start up some right wing group that's going to go riot and assault or even kill opposing political members. Why would they have an identifiable leader or leaders? Like, why would you do that? Because the minute something happens, the cops are going to come arrest these people and get them to talk, right? So it makes no sense whatsoever. And either they know that and they're just trying to pull a fast one, or they genuinely believe that kind of stuff and they're genuinely that ignorant. I think that the average supporter is just genuinely that stupid, but the people at the top definitely aren't, right? So they know that most people will fall for that lie, but anybody with half a brain won't. So, long story short, Antifa is going to keep killing and causing violence and all this kind of stuff until people have had enough. And this is the big problem that when you talk to the average person, and by the average person, I mean pretty much anybody who isn't explicitly against these kind of people, which is the majority, it's a clear majority of the population, probably 80 to 90% of the people that exist out there, um, they just don't have the stomach for this kind of stuff. And the reason why is that the biggest issues facing society, if you want to call it that, the problem with those being is that those are the ones that require the most you have to really stick your neck out if you know what I mean. And people really don't like doing that. People like doing the least amount possible to make them feel like they're making a change, right? Like that's what people want to do, right? That's why people think that they're a virtuous person because they vote for free healthcare and welfare, and because of that, that makes them a virtuous person, right? Like physically going out of your way to help poor people, yeah, that makes you a virtuous person, but simply voting for to give them free stuff doesn't make you a virtuous person, but a lot of people believe that. So that's an example of that. But yeah, like I say, this stuff's going to continue to get worse and worse until enough people stand up. And the problem is that there's two scenarios that are going to coming up. Neither one of them is going to be good because either the more likely one, Trump wins the election, which is just going to embolden these people more. Or two, Trump loses the election, and because Joe Biden and Harris and all the Democrats have pretty much stated rather obviously that they're not going to go after these people, it will only get worse. So either way, it's only going to get worse. I still think Trump winning is the right one because I mean, not I don't have a ton of faith in Trump, but the one thing that I would hope is that they finally crack down because now they're at the point where they don't have to worry about re-election, right? So they can finally crack down, be enough is enough. They don't have to worry about pissing off the wrong person. I just hope that they do that. I'm not confident that they would do that. I think there's a decent chance of it, but I would hope that that's what happens. So anyway, the next thing to bring up, speaking of crazy leftists, so the NDP, or not the NDP, but the Alberta Federation of Labor, which is basically affiliated with the NDP. Let's just be honest about it. Um, Came out the other day and said, use our map to find out which businesses in your area made donations to pro UCP PACs and send them a message with your wallet by boycotting their services. Now, again, this may indeed backfire to some degree, and that's I would suggest that, I mean, again, I'm not a huge fan of the UCP. I think they have plenty of problems, but um, they're a heck of a lot better than the NDP. So go take a look at the list and support these businesses, because again, here's the thing, that if the businesses aren't supporting them, they either A, don't really care about politics, which means that's not a great thing, or B, they support the NDP. So either way, the competition to these businesses, most likely there may be some more libertarian, even true free market kind of people. That's definitely the case, but um, I would say, like I say, this could very well boycott them. In that Lorene Teskey Harper says, I will support my local businesses. If I find out my local shop supports the NDP, I don't care. I will shop there. However, I will also make sure that I will try and go out to any businesses boycotted by this group. Now, here's the thing. Personally, I'm going to spend my money at the place that provides the best service. Now, if I find out that they're supporting this kind of stuff, I would do whatever it took to not support them within reason, right? Like within reason. Like I mean, here's the thing too. Like there comes a point to, like, I'm not big on boycotting someone simply because of political disagreements. Like, I'm not a big fan of Apple and um, kind of the shady stuff they do. But considering there's no real, I mean, there's Samsung and a lot of these Android stuff too, but they're pretty much the same. Like the problem being is that there has to be reasonable competition. Like let's just say, I mean, I shouldn't even name specific ones. Like you have grocery store A and grocery store B. As long as the prices are comparable and the service provided is comparable, one supports the NDP and the other one supports the UCP or nobody, I'm going to go to the one that supports the UCP or nobody, like beyond a shadow of a doubt. And considering Alberta is, I mean, in the cities, I'd say it's probably actually slightly lean left. In Edmonton, maybe not the suburbs, but definitely in Edmonton. So again, like I don't think it's going to hurt a lot of these businesses that much, especially the ones that aren't in Edmonton and Calgary. Like the ones that aren't in Edmonton, Calgary, I think they'll get better, right? Because that'll be a boycott. But again, the whole point being is that the whole point I wanted to get across is this is how they play the game. Like people, I think politics nowadays, it's not really a left versus right thing. I think that if you're going to separate people into two camps, which I don't think is a great idea, but if you're going to do it, it's people who are on the left and people who aren't, right? I think that's a better way of putting it, because um, and it's people who support like this stuff like this and people who don't. And the problem being is that eventually the left pushes people into a corner and things continue to get worse and worse. The difference being is that the left is wrong when it comes to pretty much all of their policy positions, and I mean, morally and ethically, they're far worse. The reason they win, though, is that they're willing to cheat and implement cutthroat tactics. I mean, it's how the old saying goes: is that um, if you give the right a foot, they take an inch. If you give the left a foot, they take a kilometer or a mile. If you're in the States, right? So that is the problem. That is the problem. The conservatives are way too. Now, here's the thing. I think that's because a lot of them they are controlled opposition. A lot of them. I mean, like it or not, a lot of them are clearly controlled opposition. Again, but the problem being is that if they actually wanted to win, like if conservatives and people who are on the left actually wanted to win, they could do it relatively easily. The problem is that the left is just so much more dedicated to their cause, because I mean, partially because I think they're inherently collectivistic. The right is inherently individualistic, so they don't value this kind of mob rule like the left seems to like. So that's another reason. But I mean, the point here being too is that they're going to keep ramping up and ramping up and ramping up until people finally wake up. And I don't know if that's going to happen before it's too late. The next thing to bring up from Kip Harriage here, he says Pope Francis is using the you know what as another reason to blame capitalism, calling a new global economic order that rejects property and focuses on the common good. Since the Catholic Church is the largest landowner on the planet, I don't know if they actually are or not, but nonetheless, they do have a lot of property. We look forward to them giving it all away. Again, it's just classic socialist hypocrisy. Like, how many examples of this do we need before people finally start to question this? Like look at all these celebrities too. That we care so much about climate change and the poor and all this garbage that they like to claim to care about, but yet they don't actually put their money where their mouth is. Here's the thing. When it comes to politics, if people aren't willing to put their money where their mouth is, I don't care what they think. This is the same thing when it comes to the left. I mean, the classic example that I'm one of the only people that uses too. It surprises me in that if the left actually was confident in their policy, if the liberals were confident in their policies, the people that are on the left that are from Eastern Canada would be the strongest supporters of Wexit. They would be calling for Wexit every bit as much as the strongest Wexit supporter. Why is that? Because if Alberta and or Saskatchewan left, especially Alberta, Canada would be a socialist country overnight. We would be one of the furthest left, arguably we would probably be further to the left than any of this. I mean, we almost already are, to be honest. But we would absolutely be further to the left than any of the Scandinavian countries. But why do they not do that? Well, very simple, because they're not actually that confident in their belief system, right? They're confident in their belief system if they can exploit the actual producers. Like, this is the reason why the left never does it too, because if you're a socialist, you need those people that put in way more into the system than they take out, right? And if Alberta and Saskatchewan left, well, guess what? That's a large percentage of those, because again, that's the problem with socialism, is that to pay for all the free stuff, you need to tax the you know what out of the productive people. And it's for the last while, it's been Alberta and Saskatchewan that have been the most productive provinces with the highest percent of individuals, and that's why they don't believe it. So yeah, I mean, coming back to this too, that they're just pure hypocrites. They're virtue signaling. I think when it comes to a lot of these celebrities and high level politicians, I think it's just a lot of guilt that, like, I mean, Justin Trudeau, prime example. The guy's been pretty much handed everything he's got in life. He's never worked a real job in his life. Like, substitute teacher is not a real job. I mean, I hate to break it to people, but it's not a real job. I mean, politician, I don't even know if I would consider that a real job. I mean, it's tough, but um, it's not the same. And this is the problem too, that a lot of these people, I mean, celebrities too, like a lot of these people, they feel guilty. Like, they have tens of millions, some of them hundreds of millions of dollars, and they feel guilty about it. And rather than actually putting their money where their mouth is and giving large amounts of it away, or at the very least volunteering their time to help people, they just virtue signal, right? Like, it's this classic thing that people think that by voting to give poor people free stuff, that somehow makes them virtuous. Like, no, no, it doesn't. Right? Voting to give people free stuff is not virtuous. For something to be virtuous, it requires you to actually go out of your way to do something. And the other thing too is to not expect something in return. This is the other problem too, that these people, they expect something in return too. And like, it's not like, if you help a poor person on the street, you buy them a burger or something, or a coffee, and you expect them to come clean your house or something, well, then it's not a good deed. It's only a good deed if you don't expect something in return, right? So it's just pure insanity. And the last thing to bring up is from Dan McTeague. He says, "Sorry, I didn't quite understand your comparison. I paid 13,000 for my Dodge Journey. I see a Tesla Model S starts at over 105,000, difference of about 90,000. My car is very fuel efficient. Yours can't run in extreme cold weather for extended periods of time. Real life comparison." Now again, I mean, this Tesla craze, I think, it's getting a little out of control. In that Teslas now, I mean, I brought this up too, but Teslas nowadays are largely just a status symbol. Basically, it's like people are walking around with a tattoo on their head, saying I'm rich and I want to look like I care about the environment. That's basically, by driving a Tesla, that's what you're saying. I mean, there's the other one too, of people who I want to be all hip and with the modern, pop culture garbage. But again, like, it's just stupid too. I mean, especially in Canada, like, especially in like Alberta or Edmonton, like, I've yet to see evidence that these cars run reliably, in minus 30 or 40. Like, I mean, regular cars don't either. A lot of times you have to plug them in, but you can easily just boost them, right? But this is the problem. Like, I don't know how reliable these cars are. The other thing too being is that how long do the batteries last too? Like, how long do the batteries last? I don't think it's that long in a lot of these cases. Like, I really don't. So that's what I just wanted to talk a little bit about this, because I find it very kind of odd too that this Tesla craze um, has gone so far. I know I am somewhat of a fan um, of the Tesla guy, but I mean I like how he's called out communism, and he's clearly at least somewhat of a believer in the free market and not some Elon Musk I'm talking about. I was blanking on his name, but I like that he's called out communism and some of these stupid, crazy far left policies. But I'm also talking about how it's not what it's made out to be. I mean, here's the thing: there isn't really that great of a reason to have electric cars in the first place, being that there's no real evidence that we need to go away from the traditional gas or diesel powered cars. Like, there's no reason for it. Now they'll bring up climate change, but like I've said a million times, there's really no reason for it. So anyway, that's kind of just the last thing I wanted to talk about. So anyway, if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Twitter especially, but also BitChute and Parler. All those links are in the description, so you can find them all there.